Welcome to Mattowarrior's Metal Madness.
Welcome to Mattowarrior's Metal Madness. It's episode 27 or something like that. So I just got a new computer, or a newer computer, I should say. So I'm just experimenting with doing this podcast a little bit faster than before. Sometimes it would just it would take forever to load everything and get that. But so the computer I was using was from 2014, 2013. Excuse me while I'll sip a little coffee. So that computer was actually I was using 8 gigs of RAM too. So, now I'm up to 32, so hopefully this will be a little better. Anyways, figured I'd talk about the news first. So cue the music. And of course, music blabbermouth for the news as well. So let's go down the line here. Styx's Lawrence Gowan on use of AI in music. I don't quite yet know what to think. So, I don't even know what to say there. I've done some AI songs. I'll admit it. I'm not gonna lie. And in fact, I would say that what I've done actually for the most part with the AI music, and I know it's controversial. I don't really care. People have this moral panic over it. Oh my God, what are we gonna do about AI? And I'm like, yeah, well, that's not the way to fight things in the world. Is not the moral panics do not work because it creates polarity from the other side. In my opinion, it's just not always. Sometimes they work, but they become witch hunts and so forth, and purity tests, purity spirals. Of course, people that know about my politics might think I'm kind of like that already, but whatever. Maybe I'm contradicting myself. So anyways, I don't know what to say. I've done some parody songs, and I've thrown old demos in there and some other project stuff just to see what it will come out with. Now I'm coming out with some new music soon that is not AI assisted. I will be honest that I used AI to look at mixing stuff like EQ and stuff like that. I typed it into the bot, to see what I should do with mixing. But it's all non-AI music. In fact, even though I did use AI for artwork for the previous EP that I released, I've used the old artists that I've been using since about 2014, 15. So I did use the same artist on this new release that I'm going to have. So it's all non-AI, and I used my original logo too, which is interesting. So I'm kind of going back to, even though I'm defending AI a little bit, I'm going back to not using AI. I want to use it as less as possible. So, but anyways, I'm not going to go into my personal usage of it for personal reasons. I have mixed feelings about things. I'm not a proponent or an opponent. I believe in having a nuanced stance about it, because it's just, you can't put the genie back in the bottle really at this point, in my opinion. But nevertheless, unless you want some kind of authoritarianism, that's just my thought. So anyways, I think there should be guardrails anyways on it, of course. So I'll go down the list here. Creators Mie Petroza on making of Crushers of the World album. Ideas were flowing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know if I heard the new creator or not. Maybe I bought one of them. I can't remember. One of the newer ones. Watch John Bush brings his Anthrax celebration show to St. Charles, Illinois. He's doing a lot of his Anthrax material, which I think Sound and White Noise is actually a really good album. I'm just going to say that right out. Saxon, okay, that's all right. Just looking for something kind of interesting or edgy here. Behemoth, sorry. Sick of it all. I don't know. Let's see, Exodus. I'm just kind of making things a little less annoyingly boring with some of these headlines. So this KISS thing with the Kennedy Center honors, they've got a lot of backlash, and I'm not going to say rightfully so. I'm not going to say that I support what happened with that. But let's just take into this. Okay, I'm just going to put this in your mind a little bit, and maybe people will oppose me for saying this, and I'm fine with that. I'm trying to stay away from politics to some extent on this podcast. But nevertheless, let's talk about the '80s when Michael Jackson visited the White House and he got some award from Reagan and all this stuff. And if you want to look at what Reagan was doing, he was doing things. I mean, he was supporting things that a lot of people were opposed to on the so-called left in Central America. The drug war he was perpetuating, some of the censorship stuff. He supported some of these people that were doing this kind of like evangelical kind of stuff that was leading to censorship in America. Now, regardless of what you say about the PMRC, oh, well, Tipper Gore was a Democrat. Well, Tipper Gore and Al Gore back then were kind of conservative Democrats. They were kind of sort of Democrats in name only to some extent, at least during that short period of time. Al Gore was supported by the tobacco industry and so forth, and 7 out of the 13 PMRC members were Republican. So I don't like either party, but I'm just saying before you say, well, the Democrats were doing the censorship. Well, just look into history. So there were people on both parties pushing censorship depending on their point of view and stuff, and that's just always how it's been. So, but nevertheless, this is what Reagan was doing, and when Michael Jackson he was actually in the Epstein files too. That just got released, but nevertheless, you're going to sit there and like play this game where KISS shouldn't have accepted an award from Trump and stuff. Well, I don't know. I really don't know what to say about that. So, just everybody has their opinion. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. Video Ace Frehley being escorted off stage for exhaustion. That's pretty bad. Pretty sad. Peter Criss, new album. Sounds very artificially done. It just sounds really slick and artificially done. I didn't really like what I've heard so far that much. So, just being honest here. Coheed and Cambria. I kind of like them. I want to check them out more, actually. Blink-182, Death to All, Cavalera. It is tedious to write lyrics. This headline about feeling tedious. Testament's Alex Skolnick. I don't want to sound like somebody that listens to too much Alan Holdsworth playing over a metal song. Is that a little shade thrown at Meshuggah? I don't know. Frederick Thorndall is a good guitarist, so even though I'm not a big fan of Meshuggah. Dream Theater, Aerosmith, Ghost partners to distribute food in downtown LA. Isn't that kind of contradictory if you're a Satanist? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Listen to James Hetfield. No, thank you. Not modern James Hetfield. Wayne Static. I'm going to skip the next headline because I'm going to be talking about that. It's about the new Megadeth. So, and actually the headline after that I'm also going to talk about. New Amorphous single sounds pretty cool. Blackstone Cherry. Bruce Kulick says he wasn't hurt when he wasn't approached to rejoin KISS after Ace Frehley's final exit from the band. Well, that's just a mess. To me, KISS has just been a disaster since 2000. I did like the Family Jewels, what I caught of it, because I thought Gene Simmons seemed like a surprisingly good parent. It's hard to explain why, like compared to like Ozzy and the Osbournes, he just seemed like he had his shit together with parenting, and I was like kind of surprised by that for like a guy that portrays himself as a selfish asshole. Peter Criss says he put his heart and soul in his new solo album. I'm still sitting like a bird. Well, it sounds like a robotic bird, honestly. Sorry to say. Oh my god. Adrian Smith is sad about David Coverdale's retirement. When your main thing is your voice and you're 80 years old, it's time to stop. Well, yeah, yes and no. I don't know. I didn't really like the post revival Whitesnake albums that much. I think Doug Aldrich is incredible guitar player, but some of those albums I didn't really enjoy that much. I just think, I don't know. I just didn't. I thought that there was good intention with them. I just didn't like. There's a lot of albums I don't like the modern production of a lot of albums, and when some of these old bands adopt those tendencies, I really don't like them. That's why I kind of like Iron Maiden's albums, even if they're not always to my liking completely, because they try to make it more live and old school, but maybe to the detriment sometimes. But nevertheless, they try to do that. Butcher Babies, I don't really know what they sound like. Al Pitrelli talks about Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is a cool band. Yngwie Malmsteen blasts his hired former singers for all trying to capitalize from his brand. So this is actually absolutely ridiculous, because if it weren't for those singers, I don't think Yngwie would be more than a niche guitar player, unless he had joined like a bigger band, like Vinnie Moore joined UFO, you know, Jason Becker joined David Lee Roth, and he was in Cacophony, which later led to the whole fame of Marty Friedman as well. So I don't think this is a very fair assessment. Let me just read. I'm going to read the article a little bit. Legendary Swedish guitarist Yngwie Malmsteen has blasted some of his singers he worked with early in his solo career for allegedly trying to capitalize for his brand. Let me be clear, performing on my solo capitalized, oh, he's like watching Trump's tweets or whatever, records does not equal ownership, authorship, or legacy. Writing a line here and there doesn't make someone a songwriter, and singing my material doesn't make it theirs. They were merely given a salary, work for hire, to put down my written parts, just like the keyboard player, bassist, drummer, etc. Okay, what a fucking asshole, I'm just going to say right now. Okay, I know that one of his former singers, Levin, Gordon Edmond? No. Mats Levin is going to be doing songs from the Yngwie Malmsteen album in Japan. But it's like, who cares? That kind of gave his album's character, just like my favorite one, strangely enough, is Odyssey, because I like, I just like the vocals on that, and the Joe Lynn Turner. I think he made it a better, it was a different kind of band with him. It was a little bit more AOR-ish and stuff, but I really like that album. I really like the first 4 Yngwie Malmsteen albums a lot. I think they're essential, but this whole idea that your singer, oh my God, he's stealing from me. It's like, come on, dude. Get over yourself. It's like he has every right to play those songs live, at least, as you do in a way. It's like, oh yeah, you wrote all those songs. Well, did he really bring character to those songs in the same way? If you would have done the vocals, I'm definitely sure that they would not have turned out the same way. So that's all I got to say about that. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous what he says. He's such an egomaniac. He makes Gene Simmons seem like a humble guy in comparison sometimes. Oh my God. I don't care what he thinks. I mean, he's a big influence on my guitar playing and my music and stuff. Yngwie Malmsteen, I love his guitar playing. I'm a huge fan, but it's just like, just get over yourself. Come on. Let's see. So, going down. There's more creator stuff. Journey, yeah. Final Tour, Journey, Rainbow box set. What else do we have here? Behemoth. Steve Morse. Oh wow, there's a little drama there. A little drama stuff. A couple of guys in the band were really glad for me to be gone. Jeez, that's messed up. Metallica, don't care. Sorry, I like Metallica. I'm just saying. Jeff Tate, Operation Mindcrime 3. I don't know what to say about that. I think you should have just left it alone after the first one. Do a different. Why do you have to be obsessed with that concept? Why not come up with something new? Rage for Order was kind of a concept album. Do something new. Oh, we have to just keep going back to Operation Mindcrime. It's like, what if Wes Craven had never done anything beyond, well, he'd done like really crappy movies or something after Nightmare on Elm Street, and or whatever after one of the movies, and then he went back to doing all these Nightmare on Elm Street sequels. It's like, oh, that's the thing that sold the most, and it would be ridiculous. So come up with something new. I mean, he came up with Scream, and that, for better or worse, influenced horror movies for like 20 years afterward. So whatever. Steve Harris, I've always been a hoarder when it comes to Iron Maiden stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Steel Panther, Exodus. Let's see what else. Obscura. That sounds like a cool tour, actually. Power Trip. I've never even heard Power Trip. Marilyn Manson, which I'm sure is pissing people off, but whatever. Announces U.S. tour. Testament, which I might be going to, another tour next year. Pretty Maids, underrated band. Pretty Maids guitarist Ken Hammer opens up about 2024 health scare. I had a blood clot in my brain. Damn, that's messed up. No, speaking of health scares, I was having a little bit of a health scare for a couple weeks. Because this runs in my family, so I was like, oh my god, I have a PSA, a prostate score of 2.58. It's a little bit above average. And I'm just like really afraid for a while because it's like, oh my god, is it going to get worse? And then I went in and it's 0.50. And I'm like, holy shit, I was freaking out over nothing. Well, I'm still going to watch it, but I'm just saying, I was like, oh my god, So, anyways, people have health scares and health spirals and stuff. That's pretty bad, though. What he's talking about. More Kiss stuff. I was pissed off about the Gene Simmons comments about Ace Frehley. I thought they were ridiculous. About him falling and dying. Did I do my episode about Ace Frehley? I think I did. Hopefully I did. Yeah. Battle Beast has a new singer. Let's see. More Metallica. Okay, here we go. Spinal Tap members pay tribute to Rob Reiner. He was funny, he was smart, he was a mensch. Now, I did a YouTube video about Rob Reiner and stuff, and I had to say what I had to say. Spinal Tap is my favorite movie of all time and has been for a very long time. And some of his other movies were really good too. Now, there's a lot of people online that are trying to like put some political crap onto it about the murders of him and his wife. And I'm going to say right now, fuck off. We don't need this shit. The first thing I can say about the politics is that it really did get cringe on Twitter. But how is that different than any boomer kind of like his generation? Either you had boomer males, especially like boomer white, males of middle or upper class, right? So you have one end of the spectrum is him, complaining about Trump all the time, not realizing that you're not talking about anybody else, just talking about the personality, not talking about policy, not talking about the structure at all, which I feel like is more important than the personalities. Why this stuff happened in the first place, which I'm not going to talk about in this video. You can watch my Mad Master YouTube channel when I talk about politics. Then you have the opposite end where the people are just MAGA and being really cringe with that. So this is just his generation. A lot of those guys went on Twitter and or Facebook. I have friends on Facebook that are boomers. No relatives right now, by the way. I'm not going to say any relatives do this anymore because I don't know of any boomer relatives that just post all day about Trump. But I do have some boomer friends. They're like, Trump did this, Trump said that. It gets cringe. And then there's other people that are MAGA that'll talk about how great Trump is and put his balls proverbially in their mouth, and it's cringe. And Rob Reiner was involved in this for many years, right? Not in the latter, but the former. So the last 2 years, he's been kind of getting out of it and getting kind of out of that whole thing. He was talking about researching JFK, and he did the new Spinal Tap, which I thought was an actually halfway decent movie. And then he also, after Charlie Kirk's death, he was very supportive of, just having a more reconciliation with people and stuff over politics. So when people try to politicize, it's like, oh my God, they just cringe memes about Rob Reiner. I'm like, you're an asshole, because of the Donald Trump thing talking about Rob Reiner. So it was just ridiculous. It's like not everything has to be political, and I know Rob Reiner did make everything political for a long time, but calm down. Just be a human being, please. So, anyways, that's about it. That's about all about that. Nefarious. I don't know who that is. Kiss Kitchen Knives. What the fuck? Okay, I don't even know. Well, that one looks kind of cool. It looks like the Gene Simmons axe. So I'd actually say that's actually kind of cool. The one in the picture on Blabbermouth. Iron Maiden's Adrian Smith on playing Kirk Hammett's Greenie guitar. The mojo is off the charts. Now, if there's anybody that deserves to play the Greenie guitar, it's not Kirk Hammett. It's definitely Adrian Smith, I'm sorry to say. My opinions are so cringe sometimes, I know. Maybe Kirk Hammett in the 80s, but not now, for sure. No offense to Kirk Hammett. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Battle Beast. Wow, that was already covered. White Snake's guitarist Joel Hoekstra. I think he's pretty good, actually. I should listen to that newer White Snake album. Tommy Thayer is not sure if there will be new Kiss music. Why would there be new Kiss music? Ridiculous. Official Watchtower feature-length documentary is in the works. That I will watch immediately. Watchtower being one of the earliest progressive technical metal bands, big influence on my earlier music, and probably somewhat on my newer music too. Great band, classic band, underrated by every measure. Neil Scone and the Current Journey touring band perform, I don't really care. Slayer band biography, Bret Michaels. I'm not even going to go to the, I already talked about Rob Reiner. All right. Bush, are they metal? Megadeth Dave Mustaine promoted to Jiu-Jitsu black belt at 64. Cool. Good on him. John Bush. It's kind of repeating itself. Gene Simmons says AI is a concern if left unregulated. Well, that said, he supports federal law, which is very dangerous to me. I think states should be able to regulate AI if they want. That's just my opinion. Which was not the opinion of the law recently. Striper. Okay. George Lynch. All right. Okay. I'm just looking for more stuff and just saying it out loud. Let's see. Oh, that sounds like a cool tour. Anyways, I think I'm done with Blabbermouth now, and I'm going to review two songs. One is the new Megadeth song, which is called Let There Be Shred. And will I do this other one? Yeah, Axe Dragger. I'm going to read this headline first. We'll do this one first. So, Axe Dragger featuring ex-Pantera singer and Fu Manchu guitarist, and Dark Funeral. Who's the Dark Funeral guy? The bassist. Wow, that's an interesting band. So I listened to this Axe Dragger song, and if you listen to the first three Pantera albums, you know who I'm talking about. It's the not Vulgar Display of Power and Cowboys from Hell. I'm talking about the original singer on the first three actual albums of them. Who else is on here? Fu Manchu, that's interesting. Drummer Pete Campbell, wow, from Pentagram, damn. Terry Glaze. So I listened to the song. I thought it was pretty damn good. It was catchy. It was kind of like it kind of had this modern metal but trad metal thing kind of mixed together. Thought it was pretty cool. It's pretty catchy. Production of the drums. Speaking of the drums, I thought were really good. It sounded very organic. It sounded modern, but it sounded organic. It was catchy. It had some cool guitars. It was trad metal. It wasn't sludge or stoner or doom. Not that that's bad. I'm just saying it was very different than what you would think from a member of Fu Manchu. And then it just had a vibe about it. And I think this actually might be a good album to check out once it comes out. So they reference Riot, Early Sabotage, Judas Priest, Dio, Iron Maiden, Armored Saint. And then they said, with modern weight and grit in the vein of Soundgarden, Mastodon, and The Obsessed. I don't know about that. Maybe the guitar tone. Sure. but it's not like that Probot album by Dave Grohl. See, that's what I think that was what he was trying to do back then, was kind of merge those two things together, trad metal and that. But this sounds pretty good. This had some actually technical riffs too, like it sounded cool, So I thought it was pretty good. I would recommend looking it up and listening to it. I'm not going to play it obviously on this podcast, but I'm just saying I was pretty surprised pleasantly about Axe Dragger. However cliche the name might sound to people, I think it was pretty good. I don't know what does that mean, Axe Dragger. You're just like the axe is like dragging on the ground, like you're just like drunk, like after the battle from ale, and your axe is just like it's on your belt. It's like hooked on your belt. And it's just like dragging on the ground, making like a little thing in the dirt. Like I don't know, Axe Dragger. Pretty funny. So anyways, that's about all for that review. I would recommend it. I think it's cool. I wanted to review this song. It just kind of inspired me because hearing the song. That means it's a good song if I'm still thinking about it and still talking about it. But nevertheless, let's get to the next song I'm going to review. So I'm reviewing two songs. And the other one is Megadeth, Let There Be Shred. So this is the latest single from Megadeth. And I think it is good. It is not surprising from the title. And let's look up who wrote the song, because I want to. This comes into play because this is a little bit. I would say, to me, it's a little bit controversial. And I'm not saying that I don't believe that anybody should ever do this, but nevertheless, I don't like when Megadeth does this, because it's like it seems a little bit forced to me. So I'm going to get more into that in a second here. Now, this new album that's going to come out by Megadeth is surprising, actually, because there's so many songs that are credited to more than one person, or just like more than Dave Mustaine only. So that's one thing that's a surprise. Now, this Let There Be Shred has an outside songwriting credit, it looks like. Who is the Clement? Not a member of the band as far as I know. So that's a little bit, I'm mixed on it. I'll be honest. I'm not a big fan of outside songwriters. John Clement. I don't know who that is, but let's see. That's just all it says. I could look him up, but I'd rather not for this. For the sake of brevity, you could probably look him up. We'll probably know who he is. I'm not going to look it up. So Timu, I can't say the Finnish name. Manisari wrote a lot of, he wrote a lot of songs on this album, which is a surprise. Let's see, who's this John Clement? I don't know. Outside songwriter on a Megadeth song. Didn't he work with like Dan Hill at one point, or some one of the Giant guys or whatever, and like Christian rock guys on one of those albums? I don't know if it was Super Collider or one of those albums. I don't remember. I'm not saying it's bad that he's a Christian. I'm just saying it was kind of a weird moment. I'm not going to look up who this John Clement is. I don't really care that much. So how is the song? I think it's serviceable. Maybe, when this Ride the Lightning cover, he covered Metallica on his newest album that's coming out. When that comes out, I'm going to review that as well, believe me. I'll review it for this podcast. I think it's serviceable. I don't think it's the best song in the world, but I think it has some cool licks and it has some cool hooks. Now, my problem always with modern Megadeth is not the songs necessarily. It's not the riffs. It's the production. I just don't like a lot of that modern style of production. It's kind of annoying. Now this one's a little bit better with that. It's not as bad as some of the stuff. It's not as triggered and kind of compressed and processed sounding. But it still is, but it's not as bad as they've gotten lately. That's why, like with Blind Guardian, I have a hard time with some of their newer material too. It's like, ugh. I don't, that Charlie Bauerfiend guy produces a lot of these modern power metal albums, and I'm like, I get what they're trying to do, but like, I just don't feel enough with it. Now there is an exception. I really like Gambling with the Devil by Halloween. I just bought the new Halloween, so I haven't heard it yet. But the last one, I don't remember a single thing from it, honestly. I'm just being completely honest. Now, granted, I only listened to it like once or twice, but still. So am I being an asshole? I don't know. Whatever. I've already made my opinion known about production and stuff. You know, I've even some bands that that I'm associated, like people on social media that are associated with. I did this like thread about modern power metal production that was. It was generated a little bit by ChatGPT, but I kind of threw in some stuff into it to do that. And a lot of people liked it that were in kind of like more modern power metal bands and stuff. So I think it is kind of a thing that's well known that we have this production problem or issue. So now sometimes bands can just overcome it. And I don't know if it is this band. I really like Beast in Black. They're able to do this kind of modern production, but they just make it so accessible in this way that it's irresistible. Maybe it works to their advantage that it's so slick and so mechanized or whatever, because they do it in this way. I mean, people call them disco metal, okay? So in a way that they do the thing right. So, but yeah, with Let There Be Shred, it's pretty good. I'd give it 3 out of 5 or 6 out of 10. It's not going to change the world. It's more modern Megadeth, but is there cool leads and stuff? Yeah, there's some very Marty Friedman-esque leads. It's almost too much in a way. Like, that would be one of my criticisms. I mean, how interesting would it be to have someone that played more like Chris Poland on some of those parts? I don't know. Just saying. There's some of the stuff seems very whole cloth, like taken from Marty Friedman's kind of vibrato. I'm not saying the guy, wasn't he in Winter Sun, the Timu? I doubt he sounds like that in other bands. I think he was just kind of going for that on that song. Do I like it? I do. I don't love it. Like I said, I have a lot of... It's hard for me to listen to repeatedly songs that have like that production. That's why I go back to the classics so much. Which there are exceptions. Just a little word about production. That doesn't mean like sometimes I'll hear something like I bought this album I'm going to listen to several years ago. I heard this band True Widow or something, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I listened to a college radio station, and I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty good. So I'm probably going to listen to that pretty soon. I like Unleash the Archers. I'm going to listen to that today probably. There's albums that I hear that, and they have that problem too. With that production. I just most of these bands use this modern production, and I'm alienated by it at least half the time. I'll be honest. It doesn't mean that I think that I'm trying to go for more modern stuff myself with my production because I do want it to be more accessible. But at the same time, sometimes it burns me out. So, anyways, that's about all for that part of the review. So yeah, it's okay. It's all right. The problem with a lot of these modern bands, or not modern bands, bands that are old, veteran bands that, I'm going to piss off Dave Mustaine probably by saying this, is that, there's a thought in my head I'm going to say. They just don't, like, it seems like they're just kind of going through the motions a lot of the time, So they're just trying to they're looking at algorithms and statistics. It's like, oh, we got to go back to thrash. Like Metallica did this, right? Back in 2008. Now the difference between Metallica and Megadeth is oh my God, I'm gonna get some backlash for this, is that I think both of them missed the mark in modern time. Now Metallica kind of has a little bit more. God, I hate to say this, but a little bit more substance sometimes. And even though they're missing the flash and the intensity of modern Megadeth, but like Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and people like Dr. Fuck, also known as Ralph Vieira, have said this too. It's like there's something about some of these newer Metallica albums. There's something redeemable that you would not expect sometimes. Like he liked Hardwired a lot. He probably likes it more I don't know if he likes it more than the new Megadeth stuff, but like, there's something more memorable about sometimes about what they do. And I would have to say this is true about some of Death Magnetic and Hardwire. Now the new one, Megadeth definitely won it with and but particularly like Dystopia, I thought was a pretty good album, especially Dystopia by Megadeth. It's kind of aged a little better than I expected it. So I hear some songs from them, like, well, that's pretty kick-ass. First 3 songs on that album, if the whole album was like the first 3 songs, it would be such a return to form. He would have obliterated new Metallica. Let's just be honest, because it had that kind of vibe, like that '80s vibe, like the Peace Sells, not even Rust in Peace. Peace Sells, Killing Is My Business vibe on those first 3 songs. I thought they were fabulous, and even some of the other songs, like the title track, were good too. So he could have beat Metallica, but he releases so many albums. I think that's part of the problem. He's so much in a rush to release a lot of albums. Metallica takes their time, maybe too much. Sick of the Dying and the Dead, I just don't remember, right? But Dystopia, I'm starting to like get more into. So that's like ironic that that's happening. But it was the last one with Dave Ellefson. I thought that was a tragedy, what happened with Dave Ellefson. I thought it was ridiculous. But I'm not going to go into that in this episode. If you feel like I'm so problematic for supporting Dave Ellefson or whatever woke kind of thing you believe, oh my God, is he, you know. And I mean, well, I'm trying to think of something about Dave Ellefson. You know, he's pretty hands-on with his own career. He's been pretty hands-on recently with his own career. You know, I'm trying to think of jokes, but I can't right now. But yeah, the Dave Ellefson stuff was so cringe. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's not like, you know, and this is not even like, it's just how many times, like, in his, like, I mean, if he was on drugs and drunk in the 80s, Dave Mustaine, how many, like, 19 or 20-year-old girls would he try to get with? Come on, even at 27, 28. And I know 55 or whatever the hell Dave Ellefson was is a big difference, but give me a fucking break. Come on. Don't try to, like, virtue signal, especially considering the people that he supports too, I'm just going to say. You know, so ridiculous. And there's just the callous nature of Dave Mustaine's, like, professional life. It's pretty cringe. I'm just saying. But yeah, Dystopia probably equals or surpasses most modern Metallica. But I do like, there's a couple albums. There's an album I like, I'm not going to talk about, that I probably shouldn't like for Metallica's earlier career. For the most part, though, my opinion about Metallica and Megadeth is that first 4 Metallica and first, let's see, how many albums? 1, 2, 3, 4. First 4 or 5 Megadeth, pretty much. I don't really need to go further that much, but I like System Has Failed a lot, and I like Dystopia. And then you're talking about the ones in between. I don't remember most of them. United Abominations was okay. Endgame was okay. I have actually Endgame signed. I have a signed version. And the funny story, I probably already told this story, but I don't care. I'll tell it again. So it was funny because I had gotten fired from my job 2 days before. And I was unsure about if I was going to get unemployment or not and stuff. But me and my friend, my roommate at the time, decided to see Megadeth. So it went. And I got in line, and I had this was back in the days of flip phones. Smartphones were becoming a thing, but I did not have one. So I wanted to get a picture with Dave Mustaine. And I kept, like, walking in front of the table, and he's like, and I'm, like, trying to get the picture. He's like, "You're gonna get in trouble." Dave Mustaine sang a song. He invented a song on the spot about me. About me. I got his signature, but he didn't understand what I said. I said, "I want you to say the mighty Mattowarrior." He's like, "Okay, the mighty Metal Warrior." And he signs my CD sleeve. So yeah, that was my story, my Dave Mustaine story. And it's hilarious. I love that story. So, I mean, I have a lot of stories about meeting famous musicians and stuff. Now, I'm not going to go into that in this episode, but I would say by far the most interesting musician I met was probably Devin Townsend, as far as, like, the conversation and stuff. So, anyways, I think I'm gonna call it on this episode, and I'm testing out this new computer, as I said before, and I'm also going to try to reach out for more interviews pretty soon, because I think it's going to be a lot less cringe with Zoom usage, and because I was having a lot of problems with getting the Zoom to work. The Zoom. I'm a boomer. I'm just kidding. The Zoom. But anyways, yeah, I was trying to get it to work, and it just sounded like, for one thing, it was kind of lagging, and just, I had some problems with my internet at the time with a lot of these interviews that I've done so far. So I don't think that's going to be as big of a problem now. It's going to go a lot smoother. Now, the ultimate step, I still have like a regular hard drive on this computer too, but I'm going to get a good SSD pretty soon too. So that'll be like the last step in getting this better. And I still need Windows 11 too, but I got like the year whatever that you can have the protection until October 2026 or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of crap that I have to go through with this, So like sometimes it'll take an hour, or it took an hour to rip an episode, and I was always worried about my computer crashing and all that stuff and all this crazy stuff. So having a new computer is going to certainly help with this podcast and doing more episodes. It gives me more morale to do more. Same with music. So more music's coming out pretty soon. I'll probably announce that on the episode once it comes out. I'm working on a new song. And the new album cover or the new EP cover or whatever was just done, and I was just... I did a little bit of it. I did like the logo and the title, and I made it like framed, the picture. I'm not going to say what it is. I think people will probably know what the song's theme is once they see the cover. I'm not going to say. But wait till you see the cover. Very provocative indeed. No, it's not provocative. I'm just... Rest in peace, Rob Reiner, by the way, with that comment. But yeah, it's a really exciting cover, because the cover alone is one of the coolest covers I've ever done for any music I've released. So, if not the coolest, and the guy that did it, I was stunned the job he did. So I'll get more into that as after it's released. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It's kind of a new direction too, because like, I don't know, I wasn't doing music for a while, I was doing music, but like I haven't done a song with lyrics in a while, and I haven't done a new cover in a while, because I was still using old artwork for various things on YouTube and stuff. And this is just hopefully this will be good, but anyways, that's about all for that. And definitely please share this podcast. Oh, one thing about the podcast, one more thing, is that I got a copyright strike for this public domain synthwave music, which is White Bat Audio, and he said, the guy that does the music on his channel said to do something in the YouTube thing or whatever. I'll figure it out, but hopefully this won't be copyright stroke, whatever. But yeah, that was kind of a problem before, because the last episode putting up on my Mad Master channel got it with copyright strike for some weird reason, and he did warn about that, like you have to do something. I'll figure that out later. But anyways, that's about all.
Biggest fucking just like, so you're basically telling me you're a goddamn poser. What do you mean you're useless? Used to means you got out of it. It means you got out of it because you weren't truly in it. Because again, dude, I don't want to hear any of this bullshit. I liked it as a kid and I don't now. Put it to you this way: when you were 16 years old, did you like pussy? Were you thinking about fucking? Now that you're 45 years old, you got a hot piece of ass in front of you. You're gonna be like, used to like that. I'm not into that no more. No, because you were truly into it. So you're still in it. You hit it. What do you mean you used to be into it? You were never truly in it. Dude, if you used to like Deicide in 1992 or whatever the fuck it was, and you don't now, pose. Fucking pose. Because again, you don't stop liking pizza. You don't stop liking pussy. You don't stop jerking off. What are you talking about? Well, used to. Used to? No, you've always been a fucking goddamn poser. That's what it is. I mean, you literally, when you come up and tell me that, that is fucking, you just translated that, I'm a fucking poser, punch me right in the face, dog. You may as well just say that, because that's exactly what you're fucking telling me, just in code terms. Biggest fucking just like...
Yeah, shit sound hot.